Good morning. Mr. Baxter's Learning Channel is the place to be. You're right, it is the place to be. Good morning, boys and girls. You have found me, and I'm so glad that you have. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to read a book together. We're going to read ourselves a non-fiction book. Now, turn that reading brain of yours on and remember that a non-fiction book is going to teach us something. That's right. Non-fiction books are going to have cool things in them like labels, which are words inside of our pictures that teach us. Non-fiction books are going to have bold printed words where they stand out very big, and those words are important. That's part of the vocabulary we want to pay attention to. Non-fiction books also have real photographs instead of drawings so that we can get a really good picture of what they're trying to teach us about. All right. And so you guys know that before we read anything here with Mr. B, here in Mr. B's hive, I've got Rickety Tickety here with me. Little sneak peek of the book that we're going to be looking at. We like to gather ourselves up. So let's quickly, I want you to get comfortable. Make sure you're in your reading position. All right. While I read, you're going to be the best learner that you can be. And you're going to pay attention and help Mr. Baxter point through the book. And we're going to see if we can learn a lot from our nonfiction book. All right. Are you up to the challenge? We've had a week off. Spring break is gone and behind us. We are rocking through this distance learning stuff. And we're going to gather up together. Ready? 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3. Hey friends, we are gathering on our phones or our screens. Everyone is here now. This is our own space now. We are here. We are here. Here we are in Mr. B's digital hive. Today is Monday, April the 13th. We're kicking off our week of distance learning with an instructional read aloud. And like I said, we're going to be doing a nonfiction book. But first, before we get into our nonfiction book, whenever we do a learning activity with Mr. B, we want to ask ourselves 2 questions, right? We need to find out, where are we going? And where we are going is what we're going to be learning, what we're going to be doing in our learning activity. And where we are going today is, everybody get your mirrors ready. Where we are going everybody say this with me. I can learn from my nonfiction book. Let's say that one more time. I can learn from my nonfiction book. So where we're going today in our learning video is that we will be learning from a nonfiction book. Now, we know where we're going. We have to know, how do we get there? So we have to know how we're going to make sure we've got it and how we know that we're learning from our nonfiction book. Well, the way we're going to know that, mirrors up, and say this one with me. I can find real pictures like photographs. I can find real pictures and fancy words in my nonfiction book. Fancy words. That's right. That's the vocabulary, those important words that are going to go along with what our book is teaching us about. All right, so keep this in mind. This is where we're going to be going today. And this is the book that we're going to be taking a look at. The book is called Fishy Tails. Now, one good way to know that we are learning from our nonfiction book, and this is something that you guys are going to do on Seesaw today, we are going to fill out a little worksheet about our nonfiction book. Up here, you see a space where it says topic. Now, your topic is what your nonfiction book is about. And since we're learning, boys and girls, it's really nice to figure out what we already know about our topic. Now, my topic is fish. The topic of my nonfiction book that we're going to be learning about is fish. And let's think. We had a fish in our classroom. His name was Ryan SpongeBob. We miss him a lot. But I'm thinking about, he lived in a water tank. The fish that I see in this book looks like they're all in the water. So I'm going to go ahead and say what I know about fish is that fish live in water. It's nice to know what you already know about something so that when you learn something new, that is going to stick right there with you. Because for a nonfiction book to be teaching you something, we got to be learning something. You're right. So what I know is fish live in water. Now you guys are going to have a worksheet on seesaw.com today. So what I want you to do is find a book on epic.com. Make sure it's a nonfiction book. And I want you to fill out the worksheet on Seesaw. You can read the book and then I want you to fill in what your book is about. I want you to tell me one thing that you know about the topic. And then you're going to tell me one or two things that you learn. So let's read Fishy Tails all together. And then we'll go back and we'll see if we can answer the two questions, okay, of what we learned. So I'm going to move this out of the way. And I'm going to drop down so that we can come read together. All right, we got a tripod working here. I want to make sure. Let's see. Can you see? Yeah, if I hold it about right here, there's my camera. So, all right. So looking at the cover of my book, boys and girls, the book is called Fishy Tails. So our title is Fishy Tails. Well, taking a preview of my cover, I see fish. And I'm believing that this topic of my nonfiction book is going to be fish. All right. So let's take a sneak peek really quick. A little picture walk. We always like to preview our books. Fishy Tails. Oh, one very important part of a nonfiction book is its table of contents. This shows us a page number and what each page is going to be talking about. I see that on page 4, we're going to be talking about coral. And then page 6, we'll be talking about fish. And right here, get ready, Mr. Number 13. You know who you are. Here comes your favorite animal, turtles. All right, so get ready, okay? We're going to read Fishy Tails together. One thing that I notice already is bold words up at the top to tell me that this page is going to be about coral. I see some words written in my picture, and we know as nonfiction and informational writers that these are called labels. You're right, and the labels are going to teach us something. Now, I also see a beautiful picture, like a photograph. Looks like somebody took a picture under the water. We know our nonfiction books have real photographs because that helps us learn. On the next page, I see another heading. This one's going to be about fish. I see some more labels. All right, so let's get into reading Fishy Tails together, and then we can go back and fill out the rest of our What I Learned organizer, okay? And you guys will do it today on seesaw.com. All right, so Fishy Tails. Fishy Tails. Just because I'm reading a nonfiction book that's not telling me a story, it's teaching me, I'm not going to forget my pointer power and my sound power and making the pictures match. Because I want to make sure I understand what I'm reading. All right, so these two pages are going to be about coral. Here is a coral reef. What do you see? Well, here I see coral and I see a fish. I like how the labels have arrows that point to the picture to show you what they're really trying to teach you about. The next page here is going to be about fish. I know that because that's what the heading, the big word up at the top, tells us. Small fish swim in and out of the coral. Wow. So those two things go together. That's telling me that the fish must live around the coral. Over here I see some labels. Here's an eye. Here's the fish's fin. And over here there's a spot. Here he is, buddy boy. This next page is all about turtles. Right. The turtles play in the ocean. Here's the turtle's shell. And this is a turtle's flipper. I'm starting to learn some things already. Keeping them in mind so I can write them down on my what I learned. Oh, next we have, here's our heading, seahorses, which tells us these next pages are going to be about seahorses. The seahorses sway to and fro. Wow, so I see a seahorse has a fin, seahorse has a snout, and a seahorse has a curly tail. I really like seahorses. Next is a starfish. These two pages is about starfish. Starfish crawl on the ocean floor. And look, here's a label right here that says arm. I did not know that parts of a starfish were called an arms. I know that we have arms, but I did not know that starfish have arms. That might be something I can add to my what I learned. Oh, jellyfish is what the heading for this page. Jellyfish is what these will be about. Jellyfish float up and down in the ocean. Tentacles. Here's a label, tentacles. Over here, the top part of the jellyfish is called a bell. That's something new that I just learned. I did not know the top part was called a bell. Makes sense though. It kind of looks like a bell. Next is some of our friends' favorite, sharks. Oh, look at this big old shark. All right, here comes a shark. It looks for food. Sharks are always looking for food. They're always out on the hunt. Here's the shark's fin. Here's the shark's tail. And here's the shark's mouth. Look, swimming through all those fish, looking for something to eat. Oh, octopuses. Here, these two pages, this heading tells me that this page is going to be about octopuses. Look at all these labels that go with an octopus. Man, look at these cool pictures. Here's an octopus up on a rock. There's an octopus all spread out. And these look like octopus that are swimming. An octopus shoots off to hide. Here's the octopus's body. Octopus have arms also. I thought those were called tentacles. And on each one of the octopus's arms, there are suckers. Now, these aren't like the suckers that we eat. These are suckers that help them stick to things so they could crawl across the rocks in the ocean. Next, this heading is telling me that these pages are going to be all about crabs. Crabs hide in the coral and in big shells. Look, this is showing me the crabs have claws. Here's the crab's leg. And here is a crab living in a shell. I think those crabs that live in the shells, we know those as hermit crabs. Next, the heading for these pages is rays. So these pages are going to be about rays. And I see some labels, a tail, an eye, and here's a fin. I'm seeing lots of fins and tails on fish. A ray hides on the ocean floor. Wow. Look at it hiding down there in the sand. I love how those real photographs really show you one of Mr. Baxter's favorites, dolphins. This page is all about dolphins. The heading, that big bold letter word, heading, dolphins tells me that that's what these pages are going to be about. A dolphin swims away from the shark. And what's he using to swim away? His tail, his flipper, and his mouth. No, this is just showing us that this is his mouth. But he's using that tail and those flippers to swim away from the shark. Ooh, long eels. Eels look out for the shark too. So here's the eel's tail. It looks to me like the eel is just one big head with one big long tail. They do have little fins. And then here is an eye. Kind of looks like a big snake. Mr. Baxter doesn't like eels. And so this page doesn't have a heading. This is just telling us kind of what happened. The shark swims away. And again, here is the fin. Here is the shark's nose. And right here, these little lines right here are called gills. Gills is what the sharks or fish use to breathe. That's how they breathe underwater. Now remember, I told you those nonfiction books have very important pages. We have a table of contents in the beginning, which shows us where everything's going to be. Then we have a word called a glossary, a page called a glossary, which tells us lots of those fancy vocabulary words that teach us in our nonfiction book. And then there's an index, which tells us if we wanted to go back and see where we could find these words in the book, we would use our index. But I really like to focus on the glossary, because the glossary tells us some important words and facts. So the eel is a snake-like fish. Octopus is a sea animal with 8 long arms. A ray is a flat fish with large wing-like fins. A starfish is a sea animal with 5 arms shaped like a star. And a turtle is a slow-moving reptile with a domed shell. Did you guys like this nonfiction book? I did. I tell you what, I love a good storybook where I can look into the characters and use my imagination, but there's something about a teaching book, you know, that really puts that information inside of your head, makes your brain muscle grow, helps you learn more and more about a topic. And you know what you can do with the topic that you learn more and more about? You can become a teacher. You could teach your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your grandparents. You could even teach your teacher a thing or two. So, all right, let's look. Our book was the topic was fish. What I already know. What I know is that fish live in water. What I learned, first thing I learned was starfish have arms. So I'm going to write that. I learned that starfish have arms. And then another thing that I learned was on the very beginning of the book. Not only do fish live in the water, but lots of fish live in coral. So I'm going to also write that fish live in coral. So now that I'm done reading my nonfiction book about fish, I know that my topic was fish. What I already knew was that fish live in the water. But 2 things that I learned was that starfish have arms and fish live in coral. So, boys and girls, that's how we're going to read our nonfiction books and make sure that we are learning. So let's take a look and see if we can answer our questions, all right? Where were we going? Well, I could learn from my nonfiction book. Did we learn a couple of things? Yeah, 2 things. And how did we get there? Well, I could find real pictures. Check, we did that. And fancy words, the vocabulary. Check, we did that in our nonfiction book. So, did we knock out our learning activity today? We sure did. You guys, pick yourself a book, a nonfiction book on epic.com. There's an activity on Seesaw which asks you to pick a nonfiction book for Epic, and then you're going to fill out an organizer just like this. So make sure you leave your nonfiction book open so you can tell me what your topic is. You can tell me something you already know, and you can tell me 2 things that you learned. Have a great day, Baxter Bees.